These next animals are all powerful and dangerous creatures, but they all share one thing in common: they're not dinosaurs. I'll touch more on that later in the video. This is one of my favorite pieces. It showcases this animal's size and strength like few others. This monster of a croc is called Dinosuchus. The most supported estimates for these animals put them at about 33 feet and 5 tons, large enough to hunt the dinosaurs of its time. These guys were present on both sides of the western interior seaway, and it's still debated whether the two populations were two separate species. The eastern population was far more abundant, but the western side grew almost 10 feet longer. And as a member of the alligator family, these guys are true crocodilians. However, studies of their growth rate show they took a while to reach their maximum size. One man had even said a full-grown Dinosuchus must have seen several generations of dinosaurs come and go. But man, if they reach those big sizes. The larger size of the western species has led some scientists to believe that they were more specialized dinosaur hunters, tackling large hadrosaurs and even possibly ceratopsians. And they would have been fierce competition even for the large tyrannosaurs that dominated the land. These monstrous reptiles are terrifying enough in their own right, but that combined with them being ambush predators? No thank you. Cancel my subscription. I'm out. As I've mentioned before, the ocean is a beautiful and diverse ecosystem, but it's also terrifying and confusing. Case in point, this animal, Bacillosaurus, and their name has already misled you. The name Bacillosaurus means king lizard, but that is precisely the issue. They actually belong to a group of animals named cetaceans, which means they're related to all modern-day cetaceans like whales and dolphins, which also means they're mammals, not reptiles. Like some modern whales, these guys could get enormous. The larger of the two species could reach over 60 feet in length. Like many of their modern relatives, Bacillosaurus were powerful predators. Their fossilized stomach contents have shown everything from fish to other whales inside. However, unlike modern cetaceans, these guys were heterodonts, which means they possess multiple types of teeth like us humans. Based on that and the morphology of the skull, we're able to determine that it could chew its food, possibly as an adaptation to eating larger prey. These enormous animals had a huge range. In the west, their fossils have been found in various parts of the United States and Peru. In the east, fossils have been found in North Africa and the Middle East. You know, I thought modern whales were terrifying enough, but these guys might take the cake. This is the Megalania, and they are the largest monitor lizards to ever exist. Even more reserved estimates put these guys at 11 feet in length, but currently it's believed they could get up to 18 feet in length. It's currently believed that their closest living relatives are the Komodo dragon or the Parenti. These guys lived in what is modern-day Australia. Here they would have hunted animals like ancient kangaroos and this animal, the Dimetrodon. Some scientists believe they had an even more sinister weapon. Because of its close relation to Komodo dragons, they believe it may have been venomous. The venom is known as hemotoxin. The venom acts as an anticoagulant, which causes the victim to bleed a lot more, which would allow them to still claim their kill even if it escaped. Nature is brilliant, but even I have to admit some things are terrifying. Jurassic World gets released today. To celebrate, we're going to talk about Mosasaurus. The real one's a little different from the one you know. Mosasaurus in the films is over 100 feet in length, which is way too big. Now, I'm not saying Mosasaurus wasn't enormous. Even more reserved estimates put these guys at over 40 feet in length. Well, at least the biggest species. You see, there are dozens of species of mosasaur, but only a few claim the title. There are 5 species of Mosasaurus in total. The most likely inspiration for this mosasaur is M. hoffmanni, which is the largest species. Jurassic World got one feature surprisingly right, something called pterygoid teeth, which is the secondary row of teeth behind their main set. For those of you who are wondering, no, they are not dinosaurs. In fact, they're more closely related to lizards and snakes than they are to dinosaurs. To be fair, they are incredibly powerful predators, and they would have probably preyed on any dinosaurs that would have came in the water. Jurassic Park and World are some of my favorite movies, but I'm glad we don't have to deal with theirs or this guy's situation. I hope everybody enjoys the movie. A powerful beast with 2 sets of teeth, Dimetrodon's the name, being mistaken for a dinosaur is the game, because apparently a lot of the public consider this a dinosaur, but they're actually part of a group called synapsids. There are 13 species of these murder puppies, the largest ones getting up to 15 feet long. But let's talk about those teeth for a sec. The name Dimetrodon literally means 2 measures of tooth. The teeth at the front of the jaw were longer and sharper to be able to cut through flesh, while the teeth at the back of the jaw were smaller and wider to hold prey. Their teeth evolved this way because they were in a complete evolutionary arms race against their prey, which were constantly getting bigger and bigger. It's currently assumed by scientists Dimetrodon grew bigger and bigger to compensate for that. Remember how I said they're not dinosaurs? It's been shown that they're actually closer related to mammals than they are to reptiles, which is kind of wild to think about. And you know what, while we're on the subject of wild, these guys have been found almost exclusively in the southern half of the United States. Almost. Where else, you might ask, would another species have been found? Europe. More specifically, Germany. These guys are as confusing as they are amazing, and it makes me wish we knew more. This animal's a member of the Forest Racidae, more commonly known as Terrorbirds. They come in a wide variety, to say the least. Some species like Kelenken could reach over 8 feet tall, with the smallest species reaching about 3 feet. The Terrorbirds are a group of birds that used to dominate South America. As part of their deadly arsenal, most of them came equipped with a hooked beak. Some scientists suggest that they could have been specialized to hunt small prey. That's due to their beak's apparent weakness. However, some scientists have also pointed out that some animals don't have the strongest bite force, yet they were still taking on enormous animals in their environment. So some folks think that they could have specialized in hunting large prey instead. Once thought that direct competition with big cats and other large predators was what drove them to extinction. Megalodon, along with other American carnivores, moved south into South America through the Isthmus of Panama, while some of the forest racidae like Titanus moved north. That event was known as the Great American Interchange, and it placed the Terrorbirds in direct competition with animals like big cats. But the jury's still out to whether that's what caused their extinction or not. We will need further evidence to know for sure. This is the largest flying creature that ever existed. Its name is Quetzalcoatlus. I don't think some people realize just how big they get. I don't even think I have to say anything. At over 10 feet tall with a 30-foot wingspan, it makes even LeBron James look like a midget. These guys are one of the Asdarchid pterosaurs. The name Asdarchid actually comes from the Persian word Asdar, which was a dragon-like creature. I think it's pretty obvious why they get compared to dragons. So let's talk about how terrifying these guys actually are. While it's been shown that they can fly, it's assumed that they hunted on the ground. You see, their body plan includes an incredibly long neck. With the way their body is positioned, it's assumed they hunted similar to modern-day storks. Their extended height gives them extended range, which would make it incredibly easy for them to snatch up small prey. Their limb proportions have also been compared to modern-day ungulates, which means it may have been able to run similar to animals like giraffes. Imagine a stork so big that it could look at you through your second-story window, has a long enough neck to reach you inside, and fast enough to run you down. That's Quetzalcoatlus. That was a relative of the largest snake to ever exist, the Titanoboa. Here to help me teach you about Titanoboa is my pet snake, Pikachu. See, Pikachu here actually belongs to the Pythonidae there, whereas Titanoboa belongs to the Boidae. The snake at the beginning of the video is actually this guy here, a green anaconda. Either way, both Pikachu and Titanoboa are what are known as constrictor snakes, which means they typically kill their prey by coiling themselves around it. However, a study conducted in 2013 suggested that they mainly ate fish, but seeing as no modern boans do, we need more research to back it up. But Titanoboa was a snake that was 42 to 47 feet in length. Its discovery in 2009 replaced the previous largest snake, the Gigantovis. These guys existed right after the dinosaurs disappeared, about 60 million years ago, and their large size is likely due to reduced competition and a warmer climate. Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of reptiles and animals in general, but even I'd have reservations about this guy. As I was saying earlier, all the animals featured in this video are not dinosaurs. To be a dinosaur, you have to have a few qualifications. Firstly, you have to be an archosaur, which eliminates everything except for crocodilians and pterosaurs. Next, you have to be part of the Ava metatarsilia, so that eliminates crocs. And lastly, but most obvious in retrospect, is that you have to be a member of the Dinosauria, which eliminates pterosaurs. So yeah. Knowing animals like this existed at one point make me understand why people were afraid of the ocean. This animal is known as Dunkleosteus. These Nightmare Nemos come in a 10-pack, with the largest one reaching up to 29 feet in length. They lived over 300 million years ago during the Devonian, where they ruled over the seas. And with the Devonian looking like this, that meant they ruled over a lot. They were the largest of a group known as placoderms. And while they don't have teeth in a traditional sense, that armor forms into some sort of beak that can bite down about 1500 psi. And more recent studies showed us that they look similar to sharks, minus, you know, the vampire dentures. Biomechanical studies show that their jaws could open within 60 milliseconds, which means they probably ate like groupers using a sort of suction feeding, following it up with one of those powerful bites. Which means for this guy, there is no happy ever after. At least Dunkleosteus isn't around today, but it really makes you wonder what else the ocean is hiding from us. And if you want to learn more about prehistoric animals, be sure to check out my page. Meet the largest crocodilian we currently know of, Purosaurus. Upwards of 35 feet in length and 8 tons, they're enormous. They're actually true crocodilians related to modern-day caimans, but they are by far the biggest of their family. He's like your fun uncle who also does bodybuilding on the side. But they're not so fun when you get on their bad side. They lived about 8 million years ago during the Miocene, which is relatively recent. And as far as we're aware, they were the dominant predators. There weren't any large mammalian carnivores around, and there are 3 species of Purosaurus. And it backed that size up with a powerful bite. Their bite is estimated to be over 15,000 psi, which is more powerful than a T-Rex. Their bite force would allow them to take down any prey in prehistoric Brazil. Everything from river dolphins to the prehistoric relatives of capybara. With Purosaurus, everything is on the menu all the time. Most people in our day and age know not to mess with bears. I hope. But that's especially true with these massive beasts. This is Arctitherium. They're the largest bears that we know of. There are 5 species of this bear beast, with the largest species reaching over 11 feet tall and almost 2 tons. For comparison, the largest modern bear is the polar bear. The largest polar bear was just over a ton and 10 feet tall. To be fair, they needed every ounce they could get. Arctitherium lived during a time where the Americas were rich with large predators. While they were the largest around, they still had fierce competition. This would have included felids like the saber-toothed cat Smilodon and prehistoric jaguars. Other carnivores like canids and mustelids also inhabited their territory. But Arctitherium was large enough to dominate them all. While Arctitherium was an active hunter, bears are famous for their omnivory, and they are no exception. In fact, their omnivory might be why later species were smaller. As time went on, evolution favored a more conservative body plan, and their closest living relative is the modern spectacled bear, which is from South America just like they were. And just like their modern cousins, these guys are a spectacle to behold. Allow me to introduce you to the marsupial lion. Their name is Thylokolio, but they're not actually lions. As marsupials, they're more closely related to this roid rabbit than any cats. They're called that because they developed a lot of traits similar to cats, including this robust body plan and retractable claws. Speaking of their claws, you see that big one right down there? Those claws were set on semi-opposable thumbs. These claws would have been useful to capture and disembowel prey. But let's not forget about those teeth. Not only did they possess a set of large incisors at the front of the jaw, they also possess shearing, or what are called carnassial cheek teeth. And they also possessed incredibly strong jaws for a marsupial. It's thought that their powerful claws and jaws would have allowed them to act like leopards, carrying their prey into the safety of the trees to eat. While they developed a lot of cat-like features, they still kept a lot of marsupial ones too. Their tail, for example, was incredibly long and well-muscled, and it was thought that this would allow them to rear up on their hind legs when attacking prey, as if its jaws and claws weren't already enough. The only comforting thought is they weren't very fast runners, but that means they're ambush predators, so by the time you see it, it might already be too late. The Triassic was a time of incredibly diverse life. In its waning days, it even produced the dinosaurs, but it also produced these guys, the Postasuchus. These monstrous predators could get up to 20 feet long. They and their family members would have been the dominant predator in the late Jurassic. Though they belong to the same lineage as crocodilians, they are not true crocodilians themselves. In fact, they evolved before crocodilomorphs in general. But even though they're very distantly related, they're just as deadly. They were capable of both bipedal and quadrupedal locomotion, which would have allowed them to outrun most of their prey. Though the dinosaurs were still faster than they were. But even a single Postasuchus could quickly dominate a kill site, and most definitely defend its own. And for quite some time, dinosaurs didn't stand a chance. Not only were they big, but each of their limbs came equipped with a large claw, capable of being used as dangerous offensive weapons, which would be used to defend itself and capture prey. As the Triassic ended, so did they. The dinosaurs weren't as big and strong as Postasuchus, but they were far more adaptable. And in the end, that allowed them to dominate the future. And unfortunately for Postasuchus, they would get left behind. One of the most legendary animals of all time is the Megalodon, a gigantic species of mackerel shark. And when I say they're giant, that's no joke. The larger size estimates put these guys at over 60 feet, but they probably average something more like 35 to 40, which is still bigger than most dinosaurs. And some of the large weight estimates put them at over 100 tons, but they only averaged about 60 tons. Regardless of its size, it's one of the most powerful predators to have ever lived. Many folks compare them to great whites. Most modern research suggests that they were closer related to mako sharks. They were likely opportunistic and would have eaten anything they could have. And it seems that they most commonly preyed on whales. They also had what's called a cosmopolitan distribution, meaning they were present in almost every ocean environment in the world. Younger megalodons likely stood closer to the coastline, using those rich coastal waters to grow and fatten up. And once they were large enough, they'd head out into the open sea, hunting all manner of marine life. And to help them hunt, they have the most powerful bite force ever, over 40,000 psi. I love all animals, even them. But let's face it, we'd all be terrified if we saw this come out of the gloom. I would just cancel my subscription to life right there.